goes to Michelle.
Yes!
March 12th, 2023 was a big night for me. I had made countless prediction videos leading up to the 95th Academy Awards, and the one person I really wanted to win was Michelle Yeoh. In my Elusive Oscar video about her in February, I predicted she would win SAG and the Oscar, but that wasn't a given. Cate Blanchett won Critics' Choice, then after I put out my video, she won BAFTA. Was Blanchett going to sweep the season, leaving Yeoh in the dust? It was certainly possible. But I just felt like this was Michelle Yeoh's moment, that eventually the votes would go her way. This was my reaction when Jeff Bridges announced her name as the Best Actress winner at SAG.
Yes!
And yes, this was my reaction when Jessica Chastain called Yeoh's name from the Oscar stage. It was an historic moment, one of the finest and most well-deserved Best Actress wins we've had in years. I was thrilled to predict this category at the Oscars correctly. I also predicted, like the rest of the world, that Ke Huy Quan would take Supporting Actor. It seemed obvious going into the night that the Daniels would win Original Screenplay and Director, and that Everything Everywhere All at Once would win Best Picture, so I predicted those two. I also predicted that Sarah Polley would take Adapted Screenplay for Women Talking, and that Brendan Fraser would beat out Austin Butler for the Best Actor win. In the top 8 categories at this year's Academy Awards, I only missed one, a victory I'm still wrestling with a month since the ceremony: Jamie Lee Curtis for Best Supporting Actress. Up until her name was announced, I just didn't think it would happen. In fact, going into Oscar night, I had Curtis in 3rd place, not 2nd. I thought that award was neck and neck between Angela Bassett for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever and Carrie Condon for The Banshees of Inisherin. In my final predictions video, I said Bassett would win despite only taking the Golden Globe and Critics' Choice Award, although deep down I sensed a Carrie Condon upset coming. She had only won at BAFTA, but there was a lot of love for The Banshees of Inisherin. It got into Best Picture and Best Director at the Oscars, and it didn't look likely to win in any other category. I sensed a Mark Rylance Bridge of Spies kind of victory about to happen for Carrie Condon, and on Oscar night, my faith in a win for Bassett was waning. I thought it was still possible, but as the envelope was being opened, I thought to myself, shaking my head, it's gonna be Condon. Carrie Condon is gonna win. And then Ariana DeBose said this:
Jamie Lee Curtis!
I sat on my couch in stunned silence. I had been thinking about these Oscars for months. I had seen all the films, studied the precursors, made a bunch of prediction videos, called on my knowledge about previous Oscar ceremonies, and one of my favorite actors of all time had won the gold trophy, and I didn't even see it coming. How did this happen? Why was Curtis's victory, at least in my eyes, such a huge surprise? And how did she ultimately manage to win an Oscar? In this video, I'm breaking down the 6 main reasons why Jamie Lee Curtis won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. Here we go. The first reason I would argue Jamie Lee Curtis won was that the competition in the category this year wasn't as fierce as it usually is. Of course there were strong contenders and great performances, there always are in Best Supporting Actress, but there wasn't that obvious performance that was naturally going to sweep the category like Ariana DeBose did last year for West Side Story, or like Viola Davis did in 2017 for Fences. There's no way Curtis would have won in either of those years for this performance, but in 2023, Best Supporting Actress didn't have her frontrunner and was entirely up for grabs, which Curtis benefited from. It's funny how for much of 2022, Jamie Lee Curtis only seemed like an outside possibility for the Oscar nomination for Everything Everywhere All at Once, let alone a potential win. I think by the end of the summer we were feeling pretty good about Michelle Yeoh and Ke Huy Quan's chances going into the next award season, but Curtis was an outlier, a maybe. If you want to have a good laugh, watch the end of my Jamie Lee Curtis and the Elusive Oscar video I made in October, where I floated the idea of a Curtis Oscar nomination for Everything Everywhere All at Once, even though I wasn't really convinced it was going to happen. Here's a sample of what I said. There's currently not a clear frontrunner for Best Supporting Actress, and it's kind of anyone's game. I believe it comes down to Curtis getting at least one of those major precursor nominations, like at Golden Globes or at SAG, and also how well Academy voters like the movie overall. I don't know if Curtis can get in. Odds seem fairly slim. Now, I did at the end of October predict in my early supporting actress video that Curtis would be one of the 5 Oscar nominees in this category. I also correctly predicted Hong Chow for The Whale. The other nominees I incorrectly predicted were Jessie Buckley for Women Talking, Dolly De Leon for Triangle of Sadness, and, wait for it, Jean Smart for Babylon. It still baffles me that nobody from Women Talking got in. De Leon, I would bet, was in 6th place for supporting actress, given that the movie got into picture, director, and original screenplay. If there's one movie I bet way too much on at the end of last year, it was Babylon. I thought with the late December release, Damien Chazelle's Oscar history with La La Land and Whiplash, and the story about Hollywood movie making, Babylon was going to overperform in every way. But alas, it bombed at the box office and quietly collected just 3 Oscar nominations in technical categories, none of which it won. I came close to predicting Angela Bassett as a nominee in that October video, but I didn't think anyone could get nominated for a Marvel movie. Turned out I was wrong. I came really close to predicting Carrie Condon, but at the time I hadn't seen The Banshees of Inisherin yet, and I wasn't sure how big of a role she had. And at the time I didn't think there would be enough strength for Everything Everywhere All at Once for Stephanie Hsu to get in along with Curtis, but as it turned out, 2 people from the same movie can show up in the same category. It happened in both supporting actress and supporting actor this year, and as it also turned out, having another nominee in your category from the same movie doesn't always mean you split the votes. Sometimes you can still win, especially when there's not a clear frontrunner in the category like DeBose or Davis, who's been sweeping all season. The second reason Curtis won was, let's be honest, she frickin' wanted to win. She campaigned for that Oscar, she busted her ass. She was Everything Everywhere All at Once, literally, throughout the entire award season. From the first screening of the film at South by Southwest on March 11, 2022, all the way to Oscar night a year later on March 12, 2023, Jamie Lee Curtis championed her movie every chance she could via Instagram, Twitter, and in person at hundreds of events and interviews. And she didn't just talk about herself. She talked about Michelle Yeoh. She lifted her up. She campaigned for Yeoh from the beginning. She got the word out about the movie and kept talking about it long after the film had left theaters in the summer. Of course, it didn't hurt that Everything Everywhere All at Once was simply an outstanding, groundbreaking movie. There was nothing Curtis could have done if the movie wasn't good, but people loved the film. The word of mouth was extraordinary. Still, even with all of that, buzz on Everything Everywhere All at Once might have cooled by the time award season came around, but Curtis wouldn't let that happen. She kept the conversation of the movie alive well into September and October. I bet you there was a moment, maybe at the South by Southwest premiere, maybe over the summer when her film was breaking records for A24, when Jamie Lee Curtis sat down and thought, this is it. This is my chance at an Oscar nomination. And so, she did everything she could to make it happen. I would bet you an Oscar win wasn't necessarily on Curtis's radar, but a nomination? Absolutely. Not just for her performance in the movie, but also for her extraordinary career that goes all the way back to the 1970s. And so she went for it. If you've been following her Instagram the last year, she promoted Everything Everywhere All at Once pretty much every day, sometimes multiple times a day. She boosted and celebrated other members of the cast and crew. As the award season started heating up in November and December, she never allowed any of us to forget Everything Everywhere All at Once. The third reason is that her 2 main competitors for the Best Supporting Actress trophy, Angela Bassett and Carrie Condon, both had at least one major flaw against them to prevent them from winning. Let's start with Bassett, who I predicted would win the Oscar on March 12th based on her early wins at Golden Globes and Critics' Choice, the parallel to how Regina King won the Oscar in 2019 without being nominated at SAG or BAFTA, her being the only person in the category with a previous Oscar nomination for What's Love Got to Do with It, and the great industry love for her. I thought it was enough to push her over the finish line to an Academy Awards victory. But ultimately, there were enough setbacks she couldn't overcome. The first one was her being in a Marvel movie, which was always a hurdle, let's face it. She was the first actor just to be Oscar nominated for a Marvel film to win was going to be a feat. I wasn't sure early in the season if she could win anything major for this performance, but then she took the Golden Globe and Critics' Choice Awards, and with a probable win at SAG incoming, Bassett suddenly became the Oscar favorite. However, Bassett's chances for the Academy Award faded when she lost at BAFTA, and especially when she lost at SAG. I didn't think the SAG loss to Jamie Lee Curtis was necessarily the end of the road for Bassett, but as it turned out, it was. A massive branch of the Academy is actors, and her not winning at SAG showed a major vulnerability when it came to the Oscars. What also hurt Bassett was the lack of Academy support for her movie. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever fell short on Oscar nominations morning, not making it into Best Picture or Best Adapted Screenplay. It got into some technical categories and won Best Costume Design, but the lack of support in the top categories do make it clearer now why Bassett lost. What about Kerry Condon? I'm starting to wonder if Condon came in second for the Oscar, not Bassett, behind Jamie Lee Curtis. Not because of the BAFTA win necessarily. I don't think her victory there surprised too many people. It was the overwhelming support the Banshees of Inisherin received throughout the season, especially at the nomination level. It got 5 nominations at SAG, like Everything Everywhere All at Once did, and then it got 9 nominations at the Oscars in pretty much every category it could, including Picture, Director, and Original Screenplay. Kerry Condon was an excellent choice for Best Supporting Actress, and it would have been a way to reward the movie, so she might have been closer to a victory than we think. However, again, she didn't win enough of the precursors. BAFTA helped, but I think one other significant win might have boosted her chances. SAG, to be sure. If Condon had won SAG, I don't think Curtis wins the Oscar, but let's say Condon had won Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, and BAFTA, and then Curtis won SAG only. Condon might have had enough heat behind her to win the Oscar over Curtis. BAFTA alone, in this case, just wasn't enough. At the end of the day, Jamie Lee Curtis was able to slide her way to victory because Bassett and Condon, the only other 2 people in her category who could have won, well, outside of a Stephanie Hsu shocker, I guess, had enough vulnerabilities throughout the award season to hold them back. The fourth reason is that Curtis was nominated at all 5 of the major precursor ceremonies, never missing, followed by that key essential victory and beautiful speech at SAG. A month later, part of me wonders if that speech at SAG won her the Oscar. It was the best speech of the ceremony, I think, and it came at the perfect time, right before final Oscar voting began. Yes, it helped that Curtis was nominated at all the major precursor shows, Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, SAG, and BAFTA. It showed her strength in the category, but Bassett and Condon also never missed, and so this element played only a small factor. It was the SAG win on February 26th that significantly boosted her chances for an Oscar win. This victory showed in the final lap before the Oscars just how strong Everything Everywhere All at Once was becoming, that not only Ke Huy Quan had a near 100% lock on an Oscar win, but also Michelle Yeoh, who took the Best Actress trophy at SAG over Cate Blanchett, and Curtis, who took the Supporting Actress trophy over Bassett, who many thought was going to take the prize instead. And then going beyond the win itself, her speech at SAG was pitch perfect. It was emotional, funny, self-deprecating, celebratory. She wasn't reading off a piece of paper. There was no clear structure. It was a speech from the heart that worked as a tribute to Curtis's parents, and then professing her love for the great Michelle Yeoh. Yeah, that helped too. Curtis spent so much of the award season boosting others, especially Yeoh, and it was just so authentic and joyful. This speech, in my mind, more than anything else, won Curtis the Academy Award. The fifth reason is that Curtis got caught up in the gargantuan Everything Everywhere All at Once awards machine. If Curtis had been in any other movie, maybe she could have gotten the nomination, but I'm not convinced a win would have been in the cards. But being a part of this awards juggernaut helped her big time in the end. In a way, Curtis riding on the coattails of a movie destined to win Oscars for Best Picture, Director, Actress, and Supporting Actor. Why not Supporting Actress too? With not a huge amount of competition in the category, like I outlined in Reason 1, Curtis being in the Best Picture winner, the movie with the most nominations total, and the most popular Oscar movie overall, netted her the win. If the Banshees of Inisherin had gone on to win Best Picture and Best Director, then Carrie Condon probably would have skated to an easy victory, but the Banshees of Inisherin didn't win anything at the Oscars, which showed enthusiasm for the movie by the end of the award season was pretty muted. The passion vote was for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and that benefited Curtis. The sixth and final reason Jamie Lee Curtis won the Best Supporting Actress Oscar is that she's of course a beloved, seasoned acting veteran who's been in the film industry for 5 decades, who's done great work, who's kind and thoughtful and generous, and who enough Academy voters decided this was the perfect time to say thank you. I never thought she would win her Oscar for that performance in Everything Everywhere All at Once. At the time, I wondered if that role in that movie was worthy of an Academy Award. A month later, having thought about it some more, having reflected on the past award season, I've come to really like this win for Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, she could have gone after some Oscar baity role in a drama that didn't feel like her in any way, and if she had won for that, it wouldn't have felt authentic to the performer that is Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, she got her start in horror films like Halloween and The Fog. She gave her best leading roles in comedies like A Fish Called Wanda and action films like True Lies. For her to win an Oscar for a movie as creative and daring as Everything Everywhere All at Once, yeah, I'm happy about the win now. And just as she gave a great speech at SAG, her speech at the Oscars was spectacular. I loved the structure she implemented of thanking people who got her to that stage while saying, "We won an Oscar." I loved her shout out to the genre fans who have supported her all throughout the decades, and the final thing she said about her parents, about the iconic stars Tony Curtis and Janet Leigh, brought me to tears on March 12th, and it remains one of my favorite moments of the night.
And my mother and my father were both nominated for Oscars in different categories. I just won an Oscar.
Jamie Lee Curtis is one of a kind, a gifted and courageous artist who has carved out such an extraordinary career for herself these last 45 years. I'm excited to see what she does next, and I'm very excited that for the rest of time, we can all say Academy Award winner, Jamie Lee Curtis.